Why is it that big expenses always seem to sneak up on you, right? Like your upcoming fall weekend trip that forgot to save for, or your cousin's wedding that's been on the calendar for 6 months, but for some reason you don't have the money, or Christmas, even though it's the same time every single year. What if I told you there was a way you could save for these things effortlessly without even have to think about it, so the money's always there when you need it? Hi, I'm Jacob Wade from Lunch Money. I'm a financial coach, and today I want to walk you through how digital sinking funds can help you save for big expenses automatically. I'm going to break down what sinking funds are, how to actually set them up and use them, and some tools that you can use to automate the process. And if you stick around to the end, I want to show you how this is all built into Lunch Money so you can track saving for these larger expenses without having to think about it. So if you never want to get blindsided by a huge expense you forgot to save for, keep watching. So what exactly are sinking funds? Well, sinking fund, the term, came from the real estate world, where a real estate investor would start to save for larger upcoming expenses. Maybe they have to replace a roof on one of their rentals, or they have a property tax bill coming up. Well, that money would need to be set aside, and it's a sunk cost, a sinking fund that is put into this rental property. And so you start to put small amounts aside per month so that when that $6,000 property tax bill comes up, for example, you have the money there. Well, the same principle can be applied to our personal finances. The idea is to save for infrequent large expenses by regularly setting aside smaller amounts. So some examples of this could include holiday gifts, or an upcoming vacation, or maybe a car repair fund just in case a transmission goes out, or even I want to replace my iPhone with the new model. All of those things are larger expenses. They don't happen every single month, but if that expense comes up, it's going to blow up your budget. So it's better to break it down into small, manageable chunks. You can think of this as like prepaying for this future expense, but in a more manageable way. So why digital sinking funds? Well, back in the day, there was a popular budgeting method called the envelope method. And the idea was to stuff actual physical envelopes with cash when you're starting to save for different categories. So your car repair fund would literally get $50 a month or $100 a month in there. And then if you had a car repair bill, you would physically take that cash out and go take care of that expense. Come on, it's 2025. We live in the digital world. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Luckily, you can actually set it up with multiple online savings accounts. You could label them and create them for each of these sinking funds, and you can set up automated transfers to put the money in there. So you don't have to create anything physical. You can do this digitally. So digital sinking funds just make the thing automated. So you can set up a recurring transfer within your savings account and send $100, $150 a month toward whatever that savings goal is. The other cool thing is you could just track all that stuff in one place. Obviously, in an app like Lunch Money, we make that really, really easy. You connect your different sinking fund accounts and you can see, hey, my vacation fund has this, my Christmas fund has this, my iPhone replacement fund has this much money. At a glance, you can see exactly what you're doing. So it doesn't make sense to physically stuff cash envelopes anymore these days. Creating a digital sinking fund makes the process really easy. So how exactly do you set up a digital sinking fund? It's pretty straightforward. Number one, you need to identify what your savings goals are. So that includes, am I going to save for a vacation coming up? Am I going to save for that iPhone? Do I need a car replacement fund for more long-term savings? Do I need to set aside money for gifts? Or do I have a wedding coming up, events? All of those types of things that aren't regular monthly expenses, you're going to want to write down a list of what those are. Then you're going to want to come up with, how much do I need? How much does this actual thing cost? You might require some research. Of course, for vacation, you're going to research this stuff anyway, but how much does the hotel cost, the flights, the rental car, if you're going to a theme park, or if you're going to go do some events, whatever those things are, build in the cost. Obviously, for Christmas, you're going to want to anticipate, who am I buying gifts for? How much are those gifts going to be? For things like the new iPhone, maybe you should save a couple $1,000s because that's just what it's going to be. But whatever that is, come up with a list of things and how much those are going to cost. The next thing you need to do is figure out, when do I need this money by? Set a date on those things. So for Christmas, for example, if it's January, you're going to need that money by December. Make sure you have the money in place so you're kind of creating a system where you're going to reverse engineer, how much do I need to save per month to get there. Again, in that example, if Christmas is 12 months away, you have 12 months to save. If you want to spend $1,200 on Christmas, you're going to set aside $100 per month. If you have a vacation coming up and it's $3,000 and it's 10 months away, you got to set aside $300 per month. But that's way more manageable than swipe the credit card and I'll figure out how to pay that $3,000 off later. You're prepaying for this expense for those 10 months leading up to that vacation. And then finally, I recommend actually opening individual savings accounts for each goal. There are some really cool banks that allow you to do this. Capital One, 360 Performance Savings, or Ally Bank allow you to open multiple savings accounts and you can label them with a nickname. So I literally have Christmas, vacation, car maintenance fund. I've got a kids savings account that I put money aside for. I've got a few different sinking funds set aside in my Capital One accounts. And what I can do is actually set up automated transfers to each. So once I get paid, what I'll do is I'll transfer money into each of those accounts. And I set this up the same time every month. So for me, it's around the 5th of the month. I'll fund each of those sinking funds for the month. So I'll put $50 toward the car maintenance fund and $100 toward birthdays and $200 toward Christmas, $200 toward our vacation fund. All of that stuff happens automatically in the background. And the cool thing is I could just open up my app and take a look in Lunch Money and go, oh, each of these accounts has this much money set aside for these savings goals. And then when that expense comes up, all I gotta do is transfer that money right to my checking account and spend it, or transfer that money over and pay off the credit card if I happened to use a credit card. But it's really, really practical. It's super easy to automate the process. And I just want to show you real quick how Lunch Money makes tracking your sinking funds really simple. And there's a couple of ways you can go about it. I just like to connect my accounts. As you can see here, I've got a vacation fund, auto insurance that I pay annually, so I get a discount. I've got Christmas, life insurance, birthdays, and a kid's savings account. And so you can see these get funded, and I have automatic transfers that go into there. So if I go into my auto insurance, for example, and I click on this account here, you can see that I had a couple of transfers. Over $200 per month is getting saved so that it'll pay for our auto insurance. I'm in Florida. Auto insurance is very expensive. That's why it's $200 per month for that. But you can just see right from the home tab, you can see these funds and you can see how they get funded. The other cool thing you could do is inside your actual budget. So if I just create a new budget here for March, for example, you could see we've got our bills and our regular daily spending, but I created a sinking funds category. And inside that sinking funds category, you could see that I have $100 set aside for car maintenance, clothing, Christmas, birthdays. And as those transfers go from my checking to my savings, I just label that clothing or car maintenance, and it keeps track of that. The cool thing would be also that if you want to just do it with a single account, say you don't want to open all those savings accounts, you're like, I just want to track this within my checking account. I want to know how much is there and available. Inside, say, the clothing budget, for example, you can click here, and I'll get out of the way. You can set it to roll over the funds to the same category next period. So let's say we get through the month of March and I don't spend that $100 at all. There's no clothing, purchases. Next month, when I fund that clothing budget, it's going to have $200 available. And then the next month, it'll have $300. So in Lunch Money, we're going to automatically roll over these categories so you know exactly how much is available in each. So you don't even have to open those extra savings accounts if you don't want to do that. But we support both methods. I just wanted to show how easy this was to do inside of Lunch Money, and we'll automatically track all of those transactions and those balances and make it easy to track your digital sinking funds and make sure you have the money set aside and budgeted for those future expenses. So as you can see, digital sinking funds are simple, but they're powerful. They take the mental stress off of an upcoming expense. They break it into small, manageable chunks per month. You could stick it right into your budget and the money will be there when you need it and you don't even have to think about it. This is something I've been doing for over a decade. This is something I walk all my coaching clients through. When you set up this system, it takes a lot of money stress out of the equation and makes it so much easier. So here are a couple of tips to maximize your digital sinking funds. Number one, just name them. Name them very clearly, not just car fund, but car repair fund or annual car maintenance fund, something where you know specifically exactly what it's for. It's not just a generic fund. You want to save for a specific goal, not something generic. Number two is be flexible with it, right? If you don't have enough one month, but you have extra funds another month, you can adjust how much you set aside for those things. Maybe you sell something and you have some extra cash. You could boost those sinking funds. Or maybe you're a little short on cash one month. Just pause funding those sinking funds and take care of your essentials first. And then of course, once you have the money, you can start putting money toward those things, but make sure you're flexible. And then keep an eye on them. Again, lunch money, you could just track your account balances right there, or you could track the rollover right inside your budget, but keeping an eye on how are things going? Am I saving enough? Do I make sure that I have enough set aside? Maybe you're researching a vacation and you realize you need maybe $1,000 more for that vacation. Well, make sure you adjust that sinking fund for that amount so you save enough. And then finally, if you want to, you can open a high yield savings account so that one, you can separate all of those savings goals, but two, you can earn interest at the same time. Especially if you're saving for a new car in a couple of years, that's multiple years of interest that you can earn in those savings accounts at the same time. So now that you know what digital sinking funds are, you know that they can make your life a lot less stressful. You can make those big expenses turn into small, manageable savings amounts that you don't have to worry about. And if you want help tracking your digital sinking funds, help setting up a system that allows you to set aside the money in your budget itself, feel free to give Lunch Money a try. We have a free 30-day trial. You can click the link below, sign up, and connect your accounts and start setting up a budget that makes sense for saving toward these digital sinking funds. And if this is your first time even looking at a budget and figuring out, okay, I need to save money, but I need to make sure that I'm budgeting properly, check out this video I made right here where you can learn how to create your first budget in 5 simple steps.